You're listening to Underground USA News.
Monday, August 11th, 2025. Editor's note. The UUSA Daily News Brief will be on hiatus from August 12th through August 17th. We will return in full voice on August 18th. Thank you for making this new project a resounding success. In a bold move to restore safety and cleanliness to the nation's capital, the Trump administration has announced plans to deploy over 100 federal agents to Washington, D.C., aiming to curb rampant crime and address the city's deteriorating condition. This initiative, part of a broader effort to make the capital great again, responds to rising concerns about youth violence and urban decay, with the administration also considering federalizing the D.C. police and deploying National Guard troops. Critics argue this could overstep local governance, but supporters see it as a necessary step to reclaim the city's prestige and ensure public safety, reflecting President Trump's commitment to decisive action on domestic issues. Retail spending in July 2025 showed remarkable strength, climbing nearly 6% year-over-year for core retail sales, excluding restaurants, vehicles, and gas, despite looming economic uncertainties and new trade policies. Consumers, buoyed by wages outpacing inflation and attractive summer sales, drove significant purchasing activity, potentially preempting higher costs from President Trump's recently intensified tariffs, which include a 10% blanket import levy and up to 41% on specific nations. While some fear inflationary pressures from these tariffs, early data suggests American shoppers are adapting, favoring domestic goods and demonstrating confidence in the economy's resilience, even as job growth slows and tariff-related price hikes loom. California Governor Gavin Newsom has announced plans for a special election in November 2025 to propose new congressional maps, a direct counter to Texas Republicans' efforts to redraw their House districts for partisan gain. This move, backed by California Democrats, aims to bypass the state's independent redistricting commission temporarily, potentially flipping up to 5 Republican-held seats to bolster Democrat chances in the 2026 midterms. Critics, including California Republicans, argue this undermines the state's established redistricting process, accusing Newsom of engaging in the same gerrymandering tactics he claims to oppose. While Newsom frames it as a necessary defense against Texas's actions, the proposal has sparked fierce debate over fairness and political gamesmanship, with implications for national House control. In a bold and provocative statement, former Texas Congressman Beto O'Rourke urged Democrats to disregard traditional political norms, declaring "fuck the rules" and vowing that the party would secure victory, whatever it takes, through aggressive redistricting strategies in Democrat-controlled states. Speaking at a political event, O'Rourke labeled Republicans as fascists and pushed for electoral map changes to counter GOP advantages, igniting debate over the ethics and implications of such tactics. While some see this as a rallying cry for Democrats to fight fire with fire, critics argue it risks escalating partisan warfare and undermining democratic principles. The remarks, widely shared on social media, reflect deepening political divides as both sides brace for intense electoral battles in 2025. Dallas Humber, a 35-year-old from Elk Grove, California, has pleaded guilty to leading the Terrorgram Collective, a transnational white supremacist group, facing up to 30 years in prison for charges including soliciting hate crimes, murder of federal officials, and conspiring to support terrorism. From July 2022 until her arrest in September 2024, Humber orchestrated violent plots, including attacks on U.S. energy facilities and assassinations targeting federal officials, while inspiring international acts of terror, such as a deadly shooting in Slovakia and a stabbing in Turkey. Her actions, driven by a hateful ideology, threatened national security and public safety, underscoring the need for vigilant law enforcement to counter such extremist threats. Humber awaits sentencing on December 5, 2025, as the Justice Department reaffirms its commitment to rooting out domestic terrorism. In a significant enforcement operation, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested 356 illegal immigrants affiliated with over 40 gangs in Houston, Texas, during the first 6 months of the Trump administration. These individuals, linked to notorious groups like MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, have collectively committed 1,685 crimes, including homicide, sexual assault and drug trafficking, and illegally entered the U.S. 34 times. The operation reflects a renewed focus on targeting dangerous criminal elements, with ICE emphasizing public safety by removing violent offenders from American communities. Critics like the Cato Institute argue that many ICE detainees lack violent convictions, but supporters maintain that such actions are necessary to address the threat posed by transnational crime. In a significant push to protect America's children, the FBI, under the leadership of Director Kash Patel, has arrested over 1,600 individuals for violent crimes against children, including 270 for human trafficking, in the first 200 days of the Trump administration. This nationwide operation, highlighted by initiatives like Operation Restore Justice, has also led to the rescue of 115 children and the identification of 4,000 victims, showcasing a robust commitment to rooting out predators and safeguarding the vulnerable. The Department of Justice, led by Attorney General Pamela Bondi, has vowed to relentlessly pursue those who exploit children, reinforcing the administration's focus on law and order and the protection of the nation's youth. In a setback for the Trump administration's push for transparency, U.S. District Judge Paul Engelmayer, an Obama appointee, denied a request to unseal grand jury transcripts from the Ghislaine Maxwell case, asserting that the government failed to provide sufficient legal justification for disclosure. The decision, which aligns with strict federal rules on grand jury secrecy, has sparked frustration among conservatives seeking clarity on the Jeffrey Epstein saga, with critics arguing it shields potentially critical information from public view. Engelmayer's ruling, which requires further briefing from the Justice Department by July 29th, underscores the ongoing tension between judicial precedent and public interest in high-profile cases. While the administration continues its efforts in New York to unseal related records, Maxwell's legal team has also opposed the release, further complicating the process. The University of California, Los Angeles is under scrutiny after a viral video captured its valedictorian, an immigrant student, delivering a profanity-laced commencement speech denouncing immigration and customs enforcement and the Trump administration, with professors reportedly nodding and awing in approval. The incident, which sparked widespread outrage, has raised concerns about the university's oversight of its ceremonies and the influence of progressive ideologies on campus. Critics argue that such displays undermine civil discourse and disrespect national institutions, while supporters claim the student was exercising free speech. The controversy highlights ongoing tensions over immigration policy and political expression in academic settings. The North Carolina Republican Party has released a video critiquing the tenure of former Governor Roy Cooper as he launches his bid for the U.S. Senate in 2026, raising questions about his leadership and policy decisions. The GOP points to issues such as Cooper's handling of hurricane recovery efforts, including delays in aid distribution following Hurricanes Matthew and Florence, and his recent commutation of 15 death sentences on his final day in office, which critics argue reflects a pattern of controversial governance. While Cooper's supporters highlight his advocacy for public education and health care, detractors contend that his record shows a disconnect with the needs of many North Carolinians, particularly in rural areas devastated by natural disasters. As Cooper seeks to flip a GOP-held Senate seat, these criticisms aim to shape voter perceptions in a closely watched race. In a troubling cybersecurity incident, Allianz Life Insurance Company of North America confirmed a data breach on July 16, 2025, exposing the personal information of the majority of its 1.4 million U.S. customers, as well as financial professionals and select employees. The breach occurred through a social engineering attack targeting a third-party cloud-based customer relationship management system, allowing hackers to access sensitive data such as names, addresses, birth dates, social security numbers, and potentially other financial details. Allianz has responded by notifying authorities, including the FBI, and offering affected individuals 24 months of credit monitoring and identity theft protection. The incident underscores the growing threat of sophisticated cyber attacks on financial institutions and the critical need for robust security measures to protect Americans' personal data. In a significant development for U.S.-China trade relations, Nvidia and AMD have reportedly agreed to remit 15% of their China chip sales revenue to the U.S. government to secure export licenses for critical semiconductor products. This deal, negotiated under the Trump administration, aims to balance national security concerns with the economic interests of American tech giants, ensuring continued access to the lucrative Chinese market while addressing concerns over advanced technology exports. The agreement reflects a pragmatic approach to maintaining U.S. technological leadership amid rising geopolitical tensions, though critics warn it could strain relations with China further. Posts on social media highlight the deal's potential to disrupt crypto mining hardware supply, underscoring its broader market implications. The International Atomic Energy Agency is set to visit Iran within the next 2 weeks to address concerns over its nuclear program, following a period of heightened tensions after Iran suspended cooperation with the agency in July 2025. This suspension came after Israeli and American airstrikes targeted key Iranian nuclear facilities during a 12-day conflict in June, prompting Iran to restrict IAEA inspectors' access. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghi confirmed the upcoming visit, which follows the IAEA director's statement that Tehran is ready to restart technical discussions. However, Iran's foreign minister has emphasized that resumed cooperation depends on the IAEA abandoning perceived double standards, while the U.S. and European nations push for renewed diplomacy to curb Iran's uranium enrichment capabilities, raising concerns about regional stability and the potential for nuclear escalation. Russian forces launched devastating airstrikes on Kharkiv, Ukraine, targeting apartment buildings and a university, resulting in at least 3 deaths and dozens of injuries, including a young child. The attacks, which involved guided bombs, underscore Moscow's ongoing aggression in the region, further escalating the humanitarian crisis and raising questions about the adequacy of international responses to protect Ukrainian civilians. While Ukraine continues to resist, the destruction of civilian infrastructure highlights the urgent need for robust defense support and strategic measures to counter Russia's tactics. In a significant crackdown, British police arrested over 400 individuals in central London on August 9, 2025, during a protest in support of the recently banned pro-Palestinian group, Palestine Action. The arrests, made under anti-terrorism laws, followed the group's designation as a terrorist organization due to its history of violent actions, including damaging Royal Air Force planes in protest of Britain's support for Israel. Demonstrators, some displaying placards with slogans like, "I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action," intentionally defied the ban, prompting swift police action in Parliament Square. The government's decision to proscribe the group, upheld after a failed legal challenge, reflects ongoing efforts to curb activities deemed a threat to national security, though critics argue it stifles legitimate dissent. Australia's decision to recognize Palestinian statehood at the 80th UN General Assembly in September 2025, as announced by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, marks a significant shift in its foreign policy, aligning with nations like France, the UK, and Canada. This move, following a cabinet meeting, has sparked debate, with critics arguing it may undermine Israel's security and reward groups like Hamas, while supporters see it as a step toward a two-state solution. The decision comes amid ongoing Middle East tensions and reflects growing international momentum for Palestinian recognition, though it raises questions about the timing and conditions for such a diplomatic step. China's aggressive gold purchases, with its central bank acquiring 181 tons in the first 9 months of 2023 alone, signal a calculated effort to diversify away from U.S. dollar-based assets amid rising geopolitical tensions and economic uncertainty. As the world's largest gold producer, China's stockpile, now estimated at 2113 tons, reflects a broader strategy to bolster financial stability, hedge against inflation, and reduce vulnerability to potential Western sanctions, as seen in cases like Russia and Iran. While some view this as a prudent investment given the volatility in U.S. bond markets and a 5,700% rise in gold futures since 1971, others question whether it's a subtle challenge to the dollar's global dominance. This trend underscores the need for American investors to stay vigilant, diversify their own portfolios, and consider the implications of a shifting global economic landscape.
You're listening to Underground USA News,